Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight at our City Council meeting. We'll go ahead and get started. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Atkinson. Here. Gray.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Ford. Black.
Here. Thank you. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, after which remain standing for an invocation which will be offered by Pastor John Robinson representing Gate City Christian Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we bow our heads in prayer, please? God of justice and mercy, for all that are here, both elected officials and citizens, we want to thank you for the gift of life and for the opportunity to serve and represent our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service and remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders and representatives that your people need. Help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with reverence that your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of your blessings. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in the goodness and love that you are. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 3 is the consent agenda. Items may be approved by one motion and a vote. If any one member of the council so desires, any matter listed can be moved to a separate agenda item. A, minutes. Council may wish to waive the oral reading of the minutes and approve the minutes from the clarification and regular council meetings of February 16, 2017, and the budget development meeting and special city council police union quarterly update meeting of March 2nd, 2017. B, Treasurer's Report. Council may wish to consider the Treasurer's Report for February showing cash and investments as of February 28, 2017. Good evening, Joyce.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joyce Surshine, Chief Financial Officer for the city. Tonight I'm presenting the Treasurer's Report for the month of February 2017. Total cash and cash equivalents represent 88% of the city's monies, totaling $40,041,207. Total long-term investments represent 12% of city's monies, totaling $5,300,313. Total cash equivalents, and long-term investments are $45,341,521. The amount is down $2,794,013 for the month of February. On page 2 of the report, I've highlighted 5 key receipts that came in for the month. We received our Wells Fargo P-card rebate of $36,802. Cable franchise fees, $60,953. This amount is down 5.25% from fiscal year 16. Transit grant federal, $78,278. Franchise fee Intermountain Gas, $80,825. This amount is down 10.57% from the prior year. Transit grant Idaho, $220,209. This represents reimbursements for the first 4 months of the year. The remaining section details the net change in cash and long-term investments for the city for your review. On page 3 of the report, I've reported on the trust funds. Total cash and cash equivalents for the trust funds total $1,170,607. Total long-term investments are $4,872,427 for total cash equivalents, and long-term investments of $6,043,035. Total cash receipts for the month are $39,340. Total cash disbursements, $57,184. Net change in long-term investments is a decrease of $25,882 for an overall reported decrease of $43,726 for the month. On page 4 of the report, I've provided you with all the cash ending balances for all funds, and I have highlighted the general fund, which was at $11,251,458. Page 5 of the report, discussion and analysis. This is presented for your review. And page 6 of the report lists the 5-year reporting cash balances for all funds. Once again, the general fund is at $11,251,458. This is a strong cash position, the best position in the last 5 years. We had 5 negative balances. These are covered by grants, grant receivables, pending reimbursements, a pending tax receivable that will come in with the second payment in July for our animal shelter bond, a pending transfer for our water pollution control debt service payment, so it will come from the operating fund into the debt service fund, and the remaining item is a trade receivable that should come in the next month. So this is a strong cash report for the month and the strongest cash report in the last 5 years. This concludes my report.
Sorry, Joyce.
You're fine.
Council, any questions for Joyce? Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to C, Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. Council may wish to confirm the mayor's appointment of Sarah K. O'Connor to serve as a member of Planning and Zoning Commission, replacing Matthew Tovey, who resigned. Ms. O'Connor's term will begin March 17, 2017, and will expire May 20, 2019. D, 2017 Portneuf Valley Environmental Fair request. Portneuf Valley Environmental Fair Committee is requesting council approval of the following temporary street closures: 7th Avenue from Center Street to Lewis Street, and Lewis Street from 7th Avenue to 8th Avenue for the 2017 Portneuf Valley Environmental Fair from 5 p.m. on April 14, 2017 to 5 p.m. on April 15, 2017. Additionally, they are seeking permission to allow committee members to stay at Caldwell Park overnight on April 14, 2017 to prevent any possible vandalism. This is an annual event. E, council decision, Hope Subdivision plat approval. Council may wish to adopt its decision approving the final short plat for the Hope Subdivision, which subdivides the property located at 5510 Nez Perce Drive into 2 lots. The larger lot shall include the residence, and the smaller lot, Lot 1, Block 1, is to be dedicated to the city of Pocatello for the public use of a bike stop, subject to conditions. Said property is zoned residential low density. However, since Lot 1, Block 1 does not meet the minimum square footage requirements for development under this zoning designation, an R restriction shall be placed on the lot prohibiting any non-public use. Both lots shall have access via Bannock Highway. F, council decision, conditional use permit appeal by the Bonneville Neighborhood Association. Council may wish to adopt its decision approving the appeal and overturning the hearing examiner's appeal or approval of Jacqueline Thomas of Praise Temple of God request for a conditional use permit to operate a group living supervised facility in the existing building located at 916 East Sublet Street, Pocatello, Idaho, under Pocatello Municipal Code, Section 17.03.230.
Mayor,
Councilman Bray.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We've got a motion by Bray and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Gray.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson. Yes. Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 4 is communication and proclamations. We have no communications, but we have a scout group here. So whoever's in charge of the scout group right there, I need you to stand up and tell us where you're from and what troop you're in.
We're from the Alameda 4th Ward. We're in troop 374 and Christopher Kinney.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. Are you a scout?
Yeah.
All right. Stand up and tell us where you're from. Please.
Carter Woodhouse. I'm from the Highland Ranch Board and through 369.
Super. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I don't see any others that look like scouts out there right now, but there may be some. Thank you very much. Then we'll move on to agenda item 5, calendar review. Council may wish to take this opportunity to inform other council members of upcoming meetings and events that should be called to their attention. On April 6 at 6 p.m. will be a regular city council meeting. April 13 at 9 a.m. will be a study session, which will be followed by a budget development meeting. Other events, March 17 and 18 is the Chrome in the Dome, will be held at Holt Arena. Reminders, vote for your favorite Pocatello flag design. Flag design contest voting will continue through March 31st. View contest admissions and vote for your favorite flag design at Marshall Public Library or the city's website. Annual spring cleanup at the cemeteries begin April 3rd. Crews will remove and discard all flowers and decorations. Citizens are asked to remove all decorations, etc., that they have placed on the cemetery space if they wish to avoid disposal of the items by staff. Cleanup is expected to continue through the end of April. Council, did I miss anything? Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to agenda item number 6, confirmation of Animal Services Director Rhett Nix. Council may wish to confirm the appointment of Rhett Nix as the city's Animal Service Director to be effective March 27, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve Rhett Nix's appointment as the City Animal Services Director effective March 27th, and all the appropriate documents be signed and legal approval requested.
Man, you wrapped it all up in that was great.
Second.
Super, I've got a motion by Johnston and a second by Moore. Connie, could you please call the roll? While she's getting to the right spot, I'll just let everybody know Rhett is in transit. He is not here and will not be here until next week. We'd probably bring him up here and interrogate him for a minute. But.
Johnston?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that it? Did we get everybody? That's it. All right, super. Thank you. Agenda item number seven. Public hearing annexation of land east of Butte Street, Clearwater Street, Satterfield Drive, and Legacy Drive. This time has been set aside for council to hear comments from the public concerning a request by Ryan Satterfield of Pocatello Creek Development Corporation, Ted S. and Janice M. Crandall, David Lowry and Michelle Russell, and Michael J. Thomas of the presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, represented by Rocky Mountain Engineering and Surveying. The request is to annex and zone approximately 74.69 acres of land extending the city limits east of Butte Street, Clearwater Street, Satterfield Drive, and Legacy Drive. Following the public hearing, council may wish to consider the following request. A, property shall be annexed into the corporate boundaries of the city of Pocatello. B, the comprehensive plan map designated shall be residential. And C, the subject property shall have a zoning designation of residential low density. Now, this is why we started our meeting a little bit late. We have a letter here with, if I could get David Lowry to please come on up here to the podium. He and Michelle have withdrawn their support or their consent to annexation. And so I just want to confirm that this is indeed your letter. You signed it and you are withdrawing your consent.
Absolutely. That is my signature and my wife's signature. And each of you have a copy, actually an original. We made 12 copies or 12 originals in case, I didn't know how many official copies had to be delivered to the city council.
Okay, thank you. So with that being said, and this withdrawal of the consent, this actually moves this from a Class A annexation to a Class B annexation. And so I would entertain a motion from the council to remand this back to the Planning and Zoning Commission and then bring this back in front of us after that. Councilwoman.
Mayor, given the circumstances, I would move that we remand this issue back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to address the type of annexation that's being proposed.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilwoman Adamson and a second by Bray. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Adamson?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that passes. So this will need to go back in front of the planning and zoning because the designation is changed. And so Matthew and Merrill, you probably want to get with Rocky Mountain Engineering and them, and so everybody knows what's happening here.
And due to circumstances, is there a way they can expedite that, or?
Is there a way to expedite that?
Well, yeah, I mean, coordinating with the commission.
But it'll still have to be noticed and everything.
Right. Because we're going from category A to category B, there's different procedures whereas background where you had all of them consenting at one time and one's withdrawing their consent prior to the consideration of the public hearing, that changes the procedures that need to be followed between the two different categories. There are some notice provisions and that require under Idaho code that be given out. So I think we can work with the planning department to try and get this done as expeditiously as possible.
Yeah, as quick as Idaho code will allow us. Matthew Lewis.
Thank you.
Planning Division Manager, Mayor and council members. Yeah, and we'll need a kind of a revised legal of the area because that's going to have to be taken out. But we will renotice, and it'll go back through that process of planning and zoning with a recommendation and back before the council.
So I just want to clarify, that doesn't necessarily mean that this property comes out. It just changes the procedures that we have to follow.
Yeah,
where everybody was in consent, then you have the public hearing with the planning and zoning. It came here. We have the public hearing here, and you move forward. Now the procedures change. It will need to go back in front of the planning and zoning and follow the right and the correct procedures if we move through this process. And so, Mitch, I know you've got a question over there. Will you grab Matt and make sure everybody's...
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Matt and Merrill, you might want to... Sure, come on over here. And this is all new to us, so...
My name is Mitchell Greer. I'm with Rocky Mountain Engineering Surveying, 600 East Elkhare in Pocatello. The only reason why the person that withdrew was part of the application is because he's going to be surrounded by the city, and so we felt like that was the appropriate way to try to get a joint application. There's a small sliver of property. It's just a little piece that Mr. Satterfield sold him in the backyard, and it's not really relative to what the overall annexation is. So my question is, why can't we proceed? We'll exclude his piece. Then that piece could go back to the planning and zoning and be annexed forcibly at some other point because the other three applicants are on board for the annexation. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, if I may, because basically under category A, you have all consent of all four. There's 4 players here, right? You have consent of all of them. This process, where we got to, how we got to here is with the consent of all 4. One is withdrawing their consent. That's the different procedures apply in a category B annexation rather than a category A. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what's protecting the city, because in essence, if we don't remand this, then the potential of Mr. Lowry is, he may end up being annexed at the end of the game, but there's a different procedure. I don't want to put the city in any position of liability because we didn't follow the proper procedure when we don't have consent of all 4. I understand that it may not be a significant chunk to the big picture, but he still has a property interest in that land.
Okay, so
if we follow the wrong procedure at this point, though, then the whole, it can really throw a wrench in the whole procedure.
I'm not sure you guys got my question or my statement. We'll exclude Mr. Lowry from the annexation. He doesn't need to be part of it. And just annex the other 3 properties, which is the LDS Church, Satterfield, and the other property owner that is already consented. And Mr. Lowry's could be remanded back if the city chose to annex or not, then that could be done at a later time.
I know, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm just saying is that my job is as the attorney here, I'm saying that I think it's best for the interest of the city at this point to remand it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I understand your point about excluding his sliver, but nevertheless, I don't want to put the city in a position of where we have to feel, we may end up in, dealing with it down the road, but I'm just looking out for the city.
I think as far as our new application, if we're going back to planning and zoning, would be without him. You know what I mean? Our application wouldn't include him if he's no longer, and then the city's going to have to do something to get his piece
Understood.
addressed.
But I'm just saying, when all four consented, and that's how it was approached to the council, I understand that, but I don't want to go fast and furious of have a public hearing, have you exclude it. I would rather cover all the bases.
One other kind of important point, I guess, is Mr. Lowry did sign a contract with the Satterfields when they sold the property to him that he would not protest any annexation. So
that is something to consider. That may be something to consider when this goes back to planning and zoning, but that's something private between Mr. Lowry and Mr. Satterfield.
It was kind of a shame it happened 10 minutes ago.
All right, so will you get with Matt and make sure that we know what we're doing there? And I'm pretty confident everybody showed up for the rest of the meeting, so we appreciate you all being here. If you would like to leave, you're more than welcome to. We'll give you about a minute to leave if you'd like to. If not, then we got you the rest of the night. Okay, I don't see anyone leaving. Everybody sit back down. It's just a sliver.
I think it's a shame that they did that 10 minutes before the
Can we
meeting.
amend this?
Do they have to pay another fee?
It's gone through the planning and zoning as one, and it's changed. That's the issue. And because it changed after the planning and zoning, we've got to go back to the start so that you can...
So do they start from square one?
Where do they
pay
start?
all the fees and do everything all over again?
Not if we don't require it. We can give them permission not to do that, which I think we should.
I would support that.
I'd charge Mr. Lowry for those fees.
Well, he's exercising his property rights.
Well,
I understand, but
I don't think that, you necessarily have to charge the fees if you don't want to.
Is that action that we take?
Do we need to take
do they
that
have
action here?
to do a mailing to the adjacent property owners?
Yeah, they'll have to start.
So there's additional fees. There's additional costs.
Right.
understood. I guess the question is...
Well, we could have our lawyer look into that while we're pursuing that, and maybe if he did sign a contract, the city wouldn't do that, maybe he should be held responsible.
Yeah, if he signed a contract, then maybe he should be held responsible for paying that extra fee.
Well, and that would be up to Mr. Satterfield to exercise
his legal authority to do that. So, okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move on then to agenda. Sorry for the confusion. We'll move on to agenda item number 8. Exception request Fort Hall replica Boy Scout Troop 312, represented by John Carlson, is asking council to grant an exception to City Code 12.39.020, restricted hours in parks, and allow troop members to camp overnight on the grounds of the Fort Hall replica on March 24, 2017 to complete an Eagle Scout project March 25, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to grant the exception.
Second.
We have a motion by Moore and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Moore?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Adamson?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, grant submission, lead-based paint and hazard control grant. Council may wish to approve submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for a lead-based paint hazard control grant. If awarded, the grant will be for $1,500,000 over 3 years' time. The grant requires a 10% match, which can be in-kind support by existing staff. The council may also wish to authorize the mayor's signature on all requisite contract documents subject to legal department review with HUD and any contractors or subcontractors if grant is awarded. Councilman Bray.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve this grant submission and that we approve that you, the mayor, can sign all requisite contracts and documents subject to legal department review.
Second.
We have a motion by Bray and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Bray.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 10, grant submission, Idaho Transportation Department reimbursement, grant for breath alcohol measuring instrument. Council may wish to allow the police department to seek a reimbursement grant in the amount of $10,375 from Idaho Transportation Department, ITD, for a Draeger Holocaust Test 9510 breath alcohol measuring instrument. This countertop instrument will be housed in the patrol division of the police department and will be available for use by surrounding law enforcement agencies, including Chubbuck Police Department, Bannock County Sheriff's Office, and Idaho State Police. Councilman Bray.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we grant this submission for a grant and that we allow you and all others, including legal review, to move forward.
Second.
We've got a motion by Bray and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Bray.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 11, bid purchase of police console desk, police department. Council may wish to consider the recommendations of staff for the following request regarding the purchase of 5 commercial-grade energy communication console desks from Evans Console. A, accept the lowest responsive bid received from Evans Consoles in the amount of $96,286.64. And if the bid is accepted, B, authorize the purchase of 5 console desks in the amount of $96,286.64. And authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents subject to legal department review. Funds for the emergency communication console desks are available in the Capital Acquisition Fund. Councilwoman Adamson.
Mayor, I move that we accept the bid from Evans Consoles and that we authorize the purchase of the 5 desks and authorize you to sign the necessary documents subject to legal review.
Second.
We have a motion by Adamson and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Bray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 12.
You might explain how those desk costs.
Well, that's a good idea. Actually, Council Member Bray just pointed out, we might explain why those desks cost so much. It seems pretty expensive to buy 5 desks for $100,000, but apparently these desks, well, why don't you step up and do that? It would be a lot better coming from you than me.
Thank you.
And I noticed which one jumped up and which one lowered down a little bit too, so.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Lieutenant Ian Nelson with the City of Pocatello Police Department, Sport Services Division. I'm over the Emergency Communication Section, or also known as dispatch. The equipment that they have in that dispatch center houses, each console desk houses 3 computer terminals on their own. These desks are specially designed to keep that equipment cool, to keep the area around each one of those dispatchers not only cool but clean. They're also hydraulically driven with lift columns. They're basically solid steel frames as well, so the costs are very expensive. They're also very ergonomic, so that the dispatchers aren't having to, in a 10-hour shift, sit and constantly look up at the screens for calls. Right there in front of them, they can move things back and forth as they need to prevent any injuries to themselves.
You said they even clean? That's fantastic. I need one of those desks around my house.
I tell you what, Mayor, I think I need one too.
Pretty specialized desks then.
Yeah. Extremely, sir.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Probably good to have that extra out there. All right, we'll move to agenda item 12, bid purchase of replacement transit buses, Transit Department. Council may wish to consider the recommendations of staff for the following request regarding replacement of transit buses to be used by the Transit Department. A, accept the low bid from Creative Bus Sales Incorporated for $71,673.50 per unit for Starcraft All-Star medium-duty 26-foot transit buses, and B, authorize the purchase of up to 6 Starcraft All-Star medium-duty 26-foot transit bus, subject to legal department review. These replacement vehicles are funded 80% by FTA Section 5339 grants and 20% by PRT program revenues. No city general funds are used for the purchase.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the replacement transit buses at the price quoted in A and the number on B, subject to any legal approval in your signature.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnston and a second by Bray. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston.
Yes.
Bray.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 13, declaration of surplus property and sell Marshall Public Library bookmobile. Council may wish to declare the Marshall Public Library's 2003 Winnebago Adventure 31V, a.k.a. the bookmobile, surplus, as the bookmobile has not been consistently utilized by the library in over 4 years. Council may wish to also sell the bookmobile to Fremont County Library District of Ashton, Idaho, for the sum of $5,000 in as-is condition, and authorize the mayor to sign the bill of sale reflecting the same. Councilman Bray?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we declare the Marshall Public Library bookmobile surplus property, and that we authorize the sale for $5,000, and also authorize you to sign the bill of sale reflecting the same.
Second.
We have a motion by Bray and a second by Adamson.
Mr. Mayor, I would add this information that this money that purchased this originally came from the Friends of the Library. And so this will be money that'll be able to go into general fund.
Nice.
Super. Thank you for adding that. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Bray.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 14, Railroad Construction and Maintenance Agreement, Benton Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Council may wish to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement between Union Pacific Railroad and the City of Pocatello for reimbursement of expenses associated with the Benton Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project. The amount of this agreement is $497,000. The city's share is in the amount of approximately $36,500. Funds are available in Fund 70 to cover this commitment.
Mr. Mayor, I move to allow you to execute the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Moore and a second by Brown. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Moore.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Bray.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 15, Phase 1 Energy Efficiency Audit Task Order Number 4, Water Pollution Control. Council may wish to authorize the mayor to sign Task Order Number 4 with HDR Engineering to prepare a detailed audit for the Idaho Power Energy Efficiency Program. The audit will include the following: A, evaluation of Phase 1 design to the energy efficiency modification template. B, identify the Phase 1 project impact to the EEM recommended approach. And C, evaluate energy savings and capital costs for each EEM using the Idaho Power Outline method. The cost of Task Order Number 4 is not to exceed $10,754.80 and will be 75% reimbursed by Idaho Power. The City of Pocatello WPC Department will pay HDR and be reimbursed by Idaho Power after all rebates are calculated.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the request and allow you to sign the order.
Second.
I have a motion by Moore and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Moore.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 16, bid professional services contract airport. Council may wish to consider the recommendations of staff for the following request regarding the repairs to the airport HVAC system. A, accept the low bid from Lewis Corporation in the amount of $61,250, and if the bid is accepted, authorize the mayor to sign all pertinent documents related to the professional services contract with Lewis Corporation in the amount of $61,250. The project will include replacement of a condensing unit and blower bearings and installed system on the terminal lobby's HVAC unit. The project will be funded using airport reserve funds. Councilwoman Adamson.
Mayor, I move that we accept the low bid for the new system and that we authorize you to sign all related documents subject to legal review.
That's a rather major expense. Was this unexpected?
Yes.
This is that way old unit, remember?
Yeah, we knew it was coming, we just didn't address it until it went out, apparently, so. And that's a second from Johnston?
Yeah.
So we have a motion by Adamson and a second by Johnston. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 17, airport lease agreement. Council may wish to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the following lease agreements for property at the airport. A, Verizon Wireless, 25 square feet of indoor space and 25 square feet of outdoor space at the airport terminal for the purpose of installation, operation, and maintenance of the communications equipment related to their cellular service at the airport. Proposed term is 5 years with 4 5-year renewal options. Rental rate will be $450 per month for the initial 5-year term, increasing to $500 per month in year 6 and increasing by 2% per year thereafter, subject to legal department review. And B, Driscoll Top Hay LLC, approximately 22.09 acres of property, including approximately 22,600 square feet of building space for the operation of a high-compressed hay baling export container business. Proposed term is 5 years with 2 5-year renewal options. Rental rate is $53,670 per year to be increased annually by at least the amount of the CPI for the preceding year. The lease allows for rent abatement for necessary facility repairs as approved by the airport manager, subject to legal department review.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask the airport manager some questions?
Sure. He would love to answer them.
We'll take them in order here. David, would you explain this Verizon Wireless situation and how it's going to be handled? And then secondly, on the Driscoll Hay situation, hay is fairly, there's a lot of dust. Is that going to have any impact whatsoever on our environment?
Okay. Good evening, David Allen, Airport Manager. To answer the first question, Verizon lease, I'm not sure what you mean about how it's going to be handled. This is a mini tower, essentially, and the footprint is very small. It's an antenna that's attached to the side of the building on the second floor, so the square footage is just right in front of it to workspace. Then there's a modular table just inside the wall, and it's hooked to the power from there. There's access when we're open, and then there's a procedure for them if they need access after hours to contact us. And there's even a fee for that because it requires somebody to come in and work overtime. So I think we have all the bases covered. I'm not sure what you mean by how it's going to work. What exactly?
How does this benefit our community?
The coverage out there is below par. And this is actually designed for mostly for the terminal and then for the tenants such as Peterson, McNabb, Ave Center, ISU, and the others around that. It's not a high density area, but it is an area that is a pocket away from the community area. So
would other suppliers need to be provided the same convenience?
They may ask for that, and there is room to be able to do that up to a point. I don't know if I've worked out how many, but, I mean, as long as I have room, I can accommodate more, yes.
Thank you.
And they know that. That I think that's even stipulated in the lease. There's not a exclusive right.
Let's go to hay.
Oh, okay. So the hay compression. Dust, good question. I really don't have the answer to that completely. The prevailing winds would not bring it towards the terminal. That's the one thing I would at least feel a little confident about. The hay is going to be stored inside the existing warehouse. So it shouldn't really be a problem there. The compression is going to happen in the carport one, the hay shed right now, but that is going to be completely enclosed. There's going to be a pad put down on the floor, insulated, fire suppression, all of that's going to happen in that building. So everything's happening inside. There is going to be some hay dust, I'm sure. We're talking about 28 trucks a day in and out. So the outbound are in cargo containers, self-contained containers, so it should not be an issue by then. But the inbound hay, there will probably be some dust, yes.
Are they not wrapping this hay in plastic in the works? Compressing it?
It's high compression. It's supposed to be so dense that when it fills a container, the container is at its maximum allowable weight for shipping. I do have Jason Hawkins here from Driscoll, part of the partnership. If you had any technical questions, I'd be glad to have him come up.
I would be very interested in knowing whether this is a pelleting process or just compression.
Yeah.
So why don't you come up here?
How long can I talk?
We're going to give you about 30 seconds. Is all. With that question coming up, it's not going to be long.
Yeah, it depends on whether he wants to approve the lease or not.
Yeah.
Your full name
Sure.
and your company for that.
Jason Hawkins, representing Driscoll Top Hay LLC. The hay compression that we're doing, it's called double compressed hay. We'll take big bales, 3x4 or 4x4 by 8 feet long, just a standard bale. It goes through, the machine is about $2 million. It comes on 10 different semi-trucks. There's a company in Canada that manufactures them and installs them all over the world. This is like 97, the unit number of it, so that's about how many there are in the world. The hay comes out in two different formats. One is a 1,000-pound bale with almost a burlap sleeve over it, and the other one we call a half cut, and they're 65-pound bales and they have 3 plastic wraps on it. So the machine doesn't take, it's a common misconception that it takes one big bale and then squishes that one. The machine doesn't work that way. It cuts that big bale into pieces and it feeds it down a conveyor belt onto a scale. So we set exactly what weight we want the bales to be, and it just feeds a continuous stream of hay into that. When it hits its weight, it stops, blows it into a chamber, and then presses it to condense it. And like David said, the entire machine is built to fit inside of a 40-foot ocean container. And we go to exactly the road weight limits in Japan, Korea, China, or the Middle East, and they're different for each one. So you adjust the press based on where you're going. And you ship the hay that way. So it's largely a transportation game. And as a detail, part of why it works is because we import all these electronics and things from China, and they want the containers to go back, and so we get a really good rate to load those containers up with something and ship them back. So we'll be taking the hay in those ocean containers down to Salt Lake City, and there's a container terminal there that loads them onto rail cars, and then they'll go to Long Beach or Oakland, and they go on ships from there, and then to whatever the destination port is.
The acquisition of the alfalfa hay is how big a radius?
So we want to run about 110,000 ton per year through the press. That will take between 15 and 20,000 acres of alfalfa to do that, which is pretty substantial.
So that's really going to increase the economy.
It would be great for the economy. When you work the math backwards, if we subtract from Salt Lake City backwards, it should bring in about $22 million a year.
Wow.
So we will have almost 20 employees there, and then Driscoll Transportation will handle all the hauling, and they need to hire at least 11 more truck drivers and purchase 10 more semi-trucks to haul everything.
Put that on your speech, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I know,
That is
right?
significant.
It's fantastic.
I move we approve.
Good man. I didn't have to answer about the dust.
I was perfect. You got excited.
About the dollars.
You got excited there.
Tell me about the dust.
So the only time that it really makes dust, I mean, the hay itself isn't really dusty. Sometimes some of it can blow off onto the sides of the road a little bit as you're hauling it. By the time it gets there, most of the loose parts that are going to fall off will have already fallen off somewhere else. And they're regulated on how much can fall off or blow off or whatever. But there in the plant, dust is created when it gets cut and when it gets compressed. And we install vacuum systems that go down to all the places where there's lots of dust. And then that sucks it into a turbine, and we have a bag that can hold about 1,000 pounds of that. And we have that to dispose of. However, you can take it to a dairy or a feedlot and do that. There's hay that falls off of the press in the meantime, and we've got a system where we can feed that back in and recapture that hay. So it does make noise. It has big electric engines that are several hundred horsepower, but those are inside of a container. They call it a power pack to keep the noise down.
Interesting.
So how big is the bale of hay?
So the finished
When it's
one
compressed.
will either be a guy like that's about 65 pounds that's made for somebody so somebody can handle it. So that will go to dairies or feedlots in Asia where people are feeding by hand. The other one is a 1,000-pound bale, and they're about this big and maybe this high with the sleeve on, and that's going somewhere where they have equipment to feed their animals.
That's interesting.
So in China, just for example, there are 1.3 billion people and roughly the same size as the United States, and there are not enough acres to feed everybody, and there's a rising demand for milk right now. They have room for the cows, but they don't have the acres to feed the cows. So they want fresh milk. Alfalfa stores really well and can be shipped easily, and the Western United States has the best alfalfa in the world.
Cool.
We just passed Ag 101.
Mr. Mayor,
Or
if I
we
could
haven't
add,
passed it yet, have we?
they intend to invest about $1 million of improvements into the facility. The renovation we're talking about is for the things that we would have to do no matter who we were going to rent to. Very general stuff like the fire suppression in the existing warehouse. So for $250,000 roughly, we're getting $1 million facility, and they're going to be online hopefully July 1st.
July 15th is when we
July
want to
15th.
start shipping.
That's great.
We're really excited about this.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it's going to be interesting.
I still move we approve.
Okay, we have a motion. We don't have a second yet. Nope, we got a second then. Thank you very much. So we have a motion by Johnston and a second by Adamson. Connie, could you
For
please?
A and B?
Yeah, for A and B. Hey, Mr. Johnston, A and B?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't do a
You
very
got
good
excited over there.
I got excited about hay. I move that we approve both A and B, subject to your signature and legal approval.
Are you okay with
I
that?
still second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Johnston and a second by Adamson. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Johnston.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 18, an ordinance amending Pocatello Municipal Code 12, Title 12, Chapter 36, Public Parks by enacting a new section 12.36.025 titled Reserved Use of Park Facilities and define a policy for the reservation of park facilities, which incorporates the use permitted at said facilities, as well as the frequency of said use as presented to council on the March 9, 2017 study session. Council, how do you wish this ordinance to be read? Councilman Bray.
Mayor, I move the ordinance, agenda item number 18, be read only by title and placed on final passage for publication, and that only the ordinance summary sheet be submitted for publication.
Second.
We have a motion by Bray and a second by Brown. Rich. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Connie, you need to call the roll.
Gray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Adamson.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
I got stuck that it's not Dean up here, so Rich, could you please read the ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Pocatello, a municipal corporation of Idaho, revising Title 12, Chapter 36, Public Parks of the revised and compiled ordinances of the City of Pocatello, more particularly by adding sections 12.36.025, reserved uses of park facilities, to define a policy for the reservation of park facilities which incorporates the uses permitted at said facilities as well as the frequency of said use, providing that all other sections of Chapter 12.36 shall remain in full force and effect, providing that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law. The rule requiring that an ordinance be read on 3 separate occasions having been dispensed with.
I declare that to be the final reading of the ordinance. Shall the ordinance pass?
Adamson.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 19, discussion items. This time has been set aside to hear discussion items not listed on the agenda. Items which appear somewhere else on the agenda will not be discussed at this time. The council is not allowed to take any official action at this meeting on matters brought forward under this agenda item. Items will either be referred to the appropriate staff or scheduled on a subsequent agenda. You must sign in at the start of the meeting in order to be recognized. As a reminder, there is a 3-minute time limit per person, 15 minutes total for this agenda item. We'll go ahead and get started. Idaho Lorax.
Idaho Lorax, Pocatello, Idaho. I'd like to announce I am running for school board, so you know. Hopefully I can represent Chubbuck in that way too, in terms of the nuclear-free school zones, and get Pocatello cleaned up.
So you're running for school board and mayor?
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay with me.
How do you pick what zone when you don't have an address? I'm just curious.
Protected.
Look it up.
Okay.
I understand.
All right.
You always like to research me and find out, whatever you can.
I really don't need to know any more about it.
Sorry to get off the track. Sorry.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, because you're getting into my time here. Because boy, we've had a busy week, haven't we? We got contamination issues down there, People's Park area. I have video footage of things down there too. But we have to remember always there's the uranium mixing things, and of course that was part of it there. Also, we did have one into the river. Maybe some of you forgot all that, but all in the river the last time we had a lot of high water. But then there are other things down there in the People's Park area, isn't there? Some little things you guys got involved in when we were trying to get the park more established down there. Other things in the flood zone that, I'd say was illegally obtained property, and then you granted a 20-year lease and all the materials that are on that property. So I hope the EPA also examines those kinds of materials that are there, because they're in the flood zone already, basically. And of course, then we have the fire thing here. I apologize for not being able to reach you earlier on these things. I was a little confused. I get confused too. I'm normal. I get certain information, and it looks like I don't know where that is because it's just a picture, and then find out more information. So usually things go client uranium death, but this time it's client death uranium, because the fire training exercise took place at one of the people. It was one of my clients who wanted his property cleaned up of the uranium material for 30 years. And that's a long time to wait. So he died. And of course, sometimes when people die, the kids who aren't living here and don't always know what's going on. And somebody says, hey, we'll give you a little money for this contaminated property, which it was, or should have been. And because if anybody used their Geiger counters and other equipment to deal with the information issue. So anyways, we tried to warn the workers and everybody about studying the area before you deal. We didn't want any of these young workers, young firefighters getting exposed.
Thank you very much.
Their dates. So.
Thank you, Mr. Rorax.
That was my 3 minutes. Wasn't that part of interrupting at the beginning?
Yeah, that was.
Right over here, flashing light.
Oh, Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll
That's
move
kinda
on
cool
to
there.
Mike
Yeah.
Seibert. You said there was a lot to talk about, and there was.
There.
Mike Seibert, 1665 Pocatello Creek Road. Mayor and council, I'd just like you to think about a little bit during the winter of all the snow we had. And it was kind of extraordinary, more than I've had probably since 1957. But anytime this winter when I get up and go anywhere, like 6 in the morning or 7, the roads are taken care of. They're clear as best as they can be. And I'd just like to take my hat off to the street superintendent, operations manager, the crews, and the crew members for getting out and doing a good job. They did. And from what I can tell, well, we got 260 miles of road running around here, and they only got 30 employees in their department. And from what I can tell, they did all that snow work with about less than half or maybe a third of what our sister cities around the community spent on their snow removal. And so besides doing a good job, did it pretty efficient.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you. The street department did a great job this year. You're absolutely right. And they don't get that many thank yous. And so thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate that. That concludes our meeting. Thank you very much for attending tonight. With that, we are adjourned.